Hello, my friends. All right, Eric Lee here with Elite Agent Training and Equity Real Estate. Let's talk about building. Should we build or should we not build? That is the question. When we look at this, we want to consider the pros and cons of building. Now, the pros are obvious, right? We get to have a custom home that's just how we want. That's the dream. Now, that dream is almost never reality. We can get the customized things that we want depending on our budget, right? Because adding those custom features really jacks that price up. So you'll see an ad for homes starting in the 500s. And by the time you add all your custom features in there, you're ending up around 750. So that's obviously something that's the pro. But remember, those all come with a price tag associated with them. The other thing that I want to mention about that dream is that I have never met somebody building a home that didn't have regrets within the first year, things that they should have done that they forgot to do, minor things that they would have changed. And so even that dream of having everything fully customizable doesn't mean that you get everything that you wanted, because you're going to learn new things that you wanted within the first few months. Okay. So yeah, you'll get close to your dream, but it won't be perfect. And so what role do real estate agents have in helping in this process? One of the first things that we want to do as real estate agents is sit down with our buyers and have this discussion. We want to talk about the pros and cons, exactly what they want. We want to make sure that they understand these true costs associated with building. Not only the cost that, as we've discussed, of some of these upgraded features, but there's some of the costs that don't actually show up on the spreadsheet or anything. Like, for example, landscaping. Most builders don't do full landscaping, and landscaping can be quite expensive. I've known people spending over $100,000 on their landscaping. So landscaping can be a very expensive feature that they'll need to add later on. And so when we're trying to compare apples to apples, if I'm deciding should I build or should I buy a pre-existing home, and that pre-existing home has full landscaping already, we need to make sure that they're accounting for that price difference or price adjustment there in their decision of whether to build or not to build. The biggest challenge with building, of course, is the time frame. It takes a long time to build a home. Now, even without the challenges that we've seen in recent years with COVID, and COVID has restricted not only personnel, but supplies being able to be delivered on time, it drastically affected the costs of some of those materials. So we saw costs skyrocketing. Even in the middle of a build job, sometimes builders were changing the pricing on that, and they had changed their contracts to allow for those types of changes as well. Whereas normally with an existing home sale, those terms won't be able to change while the contract is in force. Whereas, builders saw that some of those things were just inevitable. It was out of their control. And so they built into their own contract language that allowed them to make adjustments to basic things like the purchase price as the build job progressed. And so, again, as we have this discussion with our clients, we're now looking at not just all the pros, all right, of building, which is exciting. We're looking at some of the cons as well, and making sure that if they move forward with this process, they know that there can be some things that will be very frustrating. So as you get into month 6, and we've got a delayed notice from the builder, we can go back to them and say, okay, it's all right. Remember, we had this discussion. We have a contingency plan. We knew when we went under contract 6 months ago that they told us this would be done in 6 months. And we had this discussion that be prepared for 8 or 9 months. Okay. And so you can help them later on by reminding them that we had the discussion at the start of the process. Also, when things, let's say, for example, a builder changed the price on you towards the end because their contract allowed them to, you can again go back and say, remember, we had this discussion. This was a possibility. And yeah, it's not fun, but it's a possibility. And we went into this knowingly. What you never want to do is have those things happen to you when you've never had that discussion, right? How can they do this to me? This can't be possible. I'm going to sue everybody involved. You want to have those discussions right up front. As you have those discussions, then it's, I think, a good idea to show them some of the existing homes. Like, have you considered this one? And the extra $40,000 of value that you don't see listed here because it already has a yard, and that you can get your family moved into within a couple of months rather than within a year or two. All right. And so that when they make that decision to build, if they do make that decision to build, they stand by it firmly, because they know that's exactly what they want, that there wasn't something else out there that could have been a fantastic home for them. And so one of the best roles that we play as an agent is helping them consider all of their options, not just in whether they're going to build or not just in the options in building a new home, but whether they should build or not build, because they can see the options of existing homes on the market as well. And when they can see all of those options, and when they see how the contract plays out and how that can affect them, then they're making a good, educated decision that fits them perfectly. And then you can coach them through that process, helping them deal with the hurdles that come along the way. And you can be a very valuable asset to your clients. Okay. And this is important with builders, because sometimes builders, they have these contracts that cannot be negotiated. They don't negotiate a lot of their terms in their contracts, because builders know what they need to have in there to protect them. And so sometimes agents feel a little bit helpless. Like, what exactly am I doing here? I can't negotiate the terms of this contract. So what am I doing? What you're doing is all before you get to that contract. It's the initial discussions. It's helping them understand the pros and cons, helping them understand the challenges that they're going to face along the way, helping them to be able to see all of the existing home sales, so that if none of those fit them, then they know that building is their route, and they accept fully the challenges that are going to come along with building. All right. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys about the value that you can provide to your clients that are considering building. It can be a great choice for them. Just make sure that they're aware of the challenges that are quite often inherent with that choice. Thank you.